Hey guys, DJ Space Dude here. Back in it with another comparison video, this time reviewing the Casio Privia Px-120 versus the Yamaha P-120. Both of which are fully weighted 88 key digital pianos. But guys, before we get into it, please smite the sub button, hit the notification, and don't forget to hit that dislike button because we can't see it anyway. Alrighty, let's get into it. Manufactured between 2007 and 2008, the Casio Px-120 retailed for around $550. These still retail for a used price of around $300 to $400, but I was fortunate enough to find mine at a yard sale for $40. The only things worth noting on the Casio Px-120 is that on the back, you have your DC 12 volt, your jack for your damper pedal, and MIDI 5-pin out and in. And on the left side of the keyboard, you have your power button. And weirdly enough, you have two regular headphone style output jacks. And that's all you have on this model. On the face of the Px-120, swooping in from the top, we have your volume knob here. You have a synchronized fill-in buttons. These are all buttons for your playing. So you have play, pause, your rhythm section here. You have your left and right and your record buttons. You have your metronome. Then you have quick buttons that can press for a modern style of piano or a classic style piano, and you can press both of those to get a mix, and your tone setting button, which that corresponds to these well-hidden functions here on each of these keys, which is activated by first pressing this button, and while that's held down, pressing on one of these keys. So looking at what we have here, you have your modes, so your Casio chord, fingered, your just chords for the lower section for the rhythms. Then you have your metronome beat selection, you have your tempo selection, then you have your song and rhythm selection, so you press one of these here for that. And here you have your different sounds. Then you have your touch sensitivity here that you could adjust. You then can change the brilliance of what you're playing, as well as the reverb if you want that, and chorus as well. So you have your effects here. You have transposing and tuning. And that's what the Px-120 has to offer. Now, in discussing the Px-120, I also find it prudent to include the Casio Privia Px-130. This is the slightly newer model of the Px-120. The only real differences is that they added a few more effects, and instead of having 5-pin MIDI, they have a USB 2.0. Otherwise, from what I saw, everything seems to be pretty much the same. The Yamaha P-120 was manufactured in 2002, and from what I can research, it retailed for around $1,200. Nowadays, these retail for around $500 to $600. I was fortunate enough to get this alongside my Yamaha CS5 in a deal for $250. Unlike the Casio's sleek design, the Yamaha P-120 has a lot more functionality built into its exterior. On the left side of the Yamaha, we have all you can want and more. Starting up here, you have your sustain pedal, your aux pedal, your 5-pin MIDI in and out, the option to switch from different computers using this old host connection here. You have your 16-volt power, your standby switch, balanced RCA outputs, as well as balanced 1/4-inch jack outputs, your option to switch on and off the speaker, and 2 phones outputs. On the face of the Yamaha P-120, jumping into the top here, you have your master volume, as well as a brilliance knob. You have your demo button, your metronome, your time signature and tempo buttons, as well as your function to select within those. You have your light display here. You have your value editors for your preset, as well as 3 different users that can save 2 tracks per user. You have your start and stop and record for those as well. And here you have all your sounds. You have a variation knob here, which when pressed with any of these sounds, plays a slightly different version of that sound. So technically, you have twice the amount of instruments than is pictured here. You also have your option for a split, which can be done with any of these sounds here. Over here to your effects, you have different types of reverbs, which can be edited within these parameters, as well as your effects. You have a chorus, phaser, tremolo, and delay. You can adjust the touch sensitivity and your transpose. Something that I didn't notice when looking at my Yamaha P-120 before is that mine came with inscribed hidden messages. Look, if you look really closely, you see Chensi? Chensei? Chens? If you look over here, you'll see Denny, Steng, and Jessen.
I have no idea. I'm not even gonna bother.
Alrighty, so here we are. Casio Privia Px-120 and the Yamaha P-120. I just turned them on. Let's hear how they sound. Right off the bat, I'm noticing that the touch sensitivity on the Casio is a lot more rough, a lot more touchy than what's on the Yamaha. The Yamaha also opens with a Hall 1 reverb as its main thing, set to 2. So if I wanted to, I can change that to make it higher. So I'll say I go back to Hall, I hold it down, you see the parameters at 2, I can increase that. So let's say if I increase it to its max preset reverb. Now if I did that same on the Casio, there's 4 reverb presets, so if I just select it to the max, we'll see the max reverb on the Casio. So here's the reverb comparison maxed out for both. You also can adjust the brilliance. So if I put the max on both of these, we'll see the difference here. Similar with the chorus, you have the same effect on the Yamaha. Let me just set this to max, and we're going to do the same thing on the Casio to see the difference between chorus. What I'm realizing as I'm playing on both of these is that the hammer realistic piano feel is a lot stronger with the Yamaha. I feel a lot more of a presence. When I play it, it just sounds like I'm playing a real piano. The feel of this is a lot nicer on this keypad. Versus the Casio is just a bit clunkier. It kind of punches every time I hit it. And sometimes it's unexpected when I try to play softly, it'll just have something come out really harsh where I'm not wanting it to. Moving on, we have other piano effects. Here's Grand Piano 2 on the Casio. A lot brighter. And then here is the classic version on the Casio. Ooh, that's even more mellow. But with the Casio, you can also give it a variation. So it'll play both of them. Then we're going to have the electric pianos on here. Here's the electric piano on the Casio. And then on the Yamaha, much more similar on the second one versus the first one on here, kind of that Fender Rhodes. Then you have the second one on here, a little brighter. You have your harpsichord. You have a clav on here, which you don't have on there, so I don't see a reason to compare those, but you do have a vibraphone. And then you have a pipe organ, which is a church organ on the Yamaha. Then you have your strings. And then you have your bass, which which is just the lower section on here. So you can keep your strings and you have your wood bass, which covers the full length of the keyboard. Then you have your second bass. For this lower one, adds a ride cymbal to it. Then you have your E bass on here. And that's it, at least for the Casio. That's all the sounds, roughly all the customization you could do with the chorus and the reverb. The Yamaha, though, is nowhere near done. As I mentioned before, you have your doubled up sounds. So you have your original piano, but if I hit the variation, we get a second type. Now, concerning some of the other functions on here, you have the song sequencing, you have your tracks that you can use, but you also have your presets. So if I wanted to select a preset, I can check on here, but if I wanted to go to user 1, you can just select it to track 1, hit record, and play whatever you like. So you can do that with multiple different types, different users. You also have your little presets that you can play. For each of these has its own little demo. Beyond that, you have your variation and your effects and your split, which adds a lot more dynamics, as well as your brilliance knob here. So you have a lot more you can do with this guy. That just makes it really fun. You could do this, you could put, like, say I want to put a phaser on, and let's just say I want to max it out at 20. And you could add a bunch of reverb. The Casio, on the other hand, doesn't really offer that, but it does offer song selection. So say I wanted to play a song here. So let's say beyond that, if I wanted to do a rhythm section, I would go out of the music library to rhythm. Rhythm then allows you to play chords down here to the beat or whatever the song has, and you can play a lead up here. So this really makes the Casio stand out from the Yamaha in that you have all these rhythms and drum patterns and other things that you can really add to kind of have your one-man band on here. So if I wanted to just leave that drum lick, I can just let that go and just play whatever I want. Or if I wanted to, I can then add in my own chords by hitting the fingered section down here by mode. After playing both these keyboards, I'm just surprised at how good the Yamaha P-120 is. Not only are the sounds just really good, but you can add a reverb and your effects as well as the variation of the sounds and split the sounds. In addition to that, the plethora of connectivity you have is just immense, and I really appreciate that as a music producer. However, it does have its flaws, as this is kind of a beast to take apart. When I first got it, it had a few dead keys, and fixing those was a bit of a nightmare. Furthermore, as a payoff for its really nice weighted keys, it's just really heavy and clunky. Although that's not really a problem for me, it might be a problem for some people. The Casio, on the other hand, I thought sounded really good when I had it initially. And I thought the sampling really stood up and really was just a great thing to play on. But comparing it to something like this, the quality kind of dips a little bit. In my opinion, all the instruments are not as good on the Casio as they are on the Yamaha. Furthermore, the weighted keys sound a little janky, especially when you're playing. It's a little hard to predict how good it could sound, and it just really stumps me. All these issues I didn't really notice until I got the Yamaha, and then I realized how nice it is to play on something with a really good key bed. Also, the lack of connectivity with the Casio and its sleek looking design doesn't really fit something for me, and it's just overall too minimalistic for something that I would use. I do like the fact that the Casio is a lot lighter, a lot more manageable to bring around places, and its song and rhythm effects are really great for when you're gigging somewhere, and that's a big leg up for the Casio. Whether it's the sleek minimalistic design of the Casio or the robust size and design of the Yamaha, if I had to choose between the two, and the winner is... The Yamaha to me just sounds so much nicer. And when I sit down and play it, I almost feel like I'm sitting at a real piano. And no wonder there's so many videos and so much content out there about the P-120, because it really is that good. Don't get me wrong, the Casio, considering its price, does go a long way. But in my mind, I don't see the need to buy something like this Casio if you can pay a little bit more to get something way better like this Yamaha. The Yamaha is vastly superior. But you might disagree with me. So please feel free to put in the comments what you think is the better keyboard. All right, guys, I think my work here is done. Thank you very much for watching and for staying until the end. Feel free to check out my review videos as well as my music videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the future. Stay awesome.